Hey, welcome back to Wicked Smart Golf, aka Wicked Smat. This is your host, Michael Leonard, and this podcast is committed to helping you play better golf without changing your swing. Today's guest is Travis Key, the CEO of Strokes Gain. Travis, thanks so much for being here, man.
Michael, I'm honored, man. I'm excited about this. I've been looking forward to it since we met at the show, and yeah, let's rock and roll.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks again for being on, and it was really cool to meet you. I love going to the PGA Show because you get to talk to everybody. Everybody wants to talk golf. It's pretty easy to do, and I love what you guys were doing. So I'm excited to learn more about the company. But your golf background's pretty cool too. So I know you have some sports background. So take us back a little bit to how the golf journey even started.
Yeah, man. So I grew up in a baseball town, and I had that dad, that we were at the ballpark every night. But my dad actually was a golf nut. He would play a lot, and that was kind of our thing on the side that we would do. So I had a cool dad. He would check me out of school to go to the golf course.
That's the
But
kind of dads we're
baseball,
looking for.
that's right, man. That's what I'm trying to replicate that. But yeah, he checked me out of school one time. He said, "Hey, are you sick?" And I was like, "No." He was like, "All right, we'll just go to the golf course." I told him you were sick. And yeah, so we grew up in a baseball town, so he kind of made me dedicate to baseball. In fact, I remember having a conversation with him when I was younger. I was like, "Hey, Dad, I was like middle school, and I was like, hey, I think I want to play golf instead of baseball." And he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me play
Mm.
competitive golf. And so ended up staying on that journey and ended up playing, just a little bit of low level college baseball. I was good enough to get hurt and come back home like a lot
So
of
so were
guys.
you playing golf and baseball though through high school?
No, I didn't play like on the golf team, you
But you,
know?
yeah, 'cause I was gonna say it's hard with those two swings. Yeah, I've always wondered, how
Yeah.
people can do that.
Well, I mean, I couldn't hit a baseball really good either, so I don't think it mattered. So, I was an okay hitter, I guess,
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, so ended up playing a little bit in college, and I always like still loved golf. I remember even in high school, like skipping school and going out to the golf course. I hope my teachers don't hear this, but uh,
Golf's clearly worked out better than anything I learned in school, so I think it worked out for you too.
yeah, man, I call it the leader's game because it teaches you so much about life.
Mm.
You have to execute whatever's in front of you, and then you put yourself into trouble. You have to take responsibility and get yourself out of trouble tactically. And so I think it teaches you so much about life. My son right now, I've got him hooked on golf. And so I've actually manipulated a little bit of that situation. So as he's been growing up, when I put him to bed, he's always like, "Hey, Dad, can we watch something? Can we watch something on TV or the iPad?" And I'm like, "You can only watch one thing, and that's reruns of Tiger Woods."
I was
And
just gonna say, I hope it's Tiger highlights.
it's Tiger highlights. Really, and he likes Rory too, so we watch Rory. And so he's hooked on it, man. But yeah, played some college ball, kind of put the game down for a little while. Would play recreationally, a few times a year. And then when I turned 30, I quit doing CrossFit. That kind of fed my competitive side,
Hmm.
uh, and got hooked on competitive golf, which we can talk about. So playing like state mid-ams and four balls and doing some qualifiers here and
So when
there.
you got into tournament golf, I always like to kind of let people know, like, because I feel like a lot of people think they have to get to a certain level before they play in tournaments. Like, what was your progression? So you quit baseball. What was your handicap then, and like, how long did it take to get before you were like then into tournaments or even wanted
Yeah.
to play tournaments?
Yeah. So, probably something we'll talk about a little bit later. I started really kind of dedicating to the game and started working out actually, like fitness
Hmm.
actually allowed my body mobility wise to get into positions to hit a golf ball different. And I noticed, and so I got down to about like a 3 or 4 handicap. And one of my best friends that yeah, he was in my wedding, scratch golfer. He was like, "Hey, why don't you come play this four ball with me?" And it was the Southeastern four ball at Willow Point. Beautiful, beautiful place. And bro, I tell everybody the first tee of my first amateur event, hands down, nowhere close, was the most nervous I've ever been in my life. Legit. I mean, I've gotten to speak in front of thousands of people, played baseball in some pretty, hostile environments. When they called out my name on that first tee, and there was like one person behind the rope, that's like courtesy clapping, but they're
Yep.
watching their boyfriend on the other four ball team. Um, my first objective, I wasn't even thinking about hitting the ball. My hand was shaking so bad. I
Yep.
was like, get the ball on the tee, and it jostled and stayed there. And then, I hit a just a stock cut, and I hit the longest power draw I've ever hit in my life. Like
Adrenaline is real.
aggressive over the water. I get in the cart, my partner's like, bro, that was a very long and aggressive line. And I said, yeah, I totally did not mean to do that. And so, yeah, I don't know if I ever hit a ball like that again because that adrenaline dump
Yeah.
was. But
So
to answer your
that's impressive though for your first one. I got to give you props because I know everyone's probably tired of me telling the story, but I mean, I know we just met, but like my first tee shot in college, my tryout for a college team, my dad topped it in front of the team and all the players, the
yeah,
coach. I mean, it's in my book. It's like a pretty much
yep,
the start of Wicked Smart, and I just remember literally wanting to die. Like I just wanted this. I was just always say it's the Southwest commercial. Want to get away? Like I would have given everything. Like I thought my life was over. I've never been that nervous.
yeah.
Couldn't have played worse. So the fact that you just did the opposite and just roped it, well done.
Oh, well, I mean, I've blocked it, plenty of times from there. But man, I tell everybody, like, I think it's like anything in life. You got to put yourself out there and put yourself in the actual environment to
Hmm.
get used to and acclimated to the environment. And so I still get nervous, man, but I try to play in at least three or four of these a year now, and it's a drug, man. I love it and it's fun. But yeah, I think putting yourself out there, and here's honestly what it did, Michael. It caused me to want to get better because when you go into an environment like that, you see these guys and you're like, okay, like they're good and they're definitely better than me and they still are, but I can see where I could get to that level. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And or at least close. I'm still the guy trying to make the cut, and I've gotten close a few times, but um I don't feel too far off from where a lot of those guys are. So
Yeah, I think one it's like exposure, right? It's like
yeah,
if you grow up at a certain income and you don't know any like rich people, and then you start hanging out with rich people and you hear them think and hear how they talk and their strategies, you're like, oh wow, that's how it is. Same thing with golf. Like if you just play golf with your guys, same four guys, every weekend, they're all shooting mid handicap. Nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you got to go out and play with new people, and you're like, huh. That's what I have to do. Oh, I never thought about that. Oh, that they can do that shot. Maybe I should try that. Oh, they think about golf a little bit differently. It's like the exposure piece is so key to me. So that's why I tell everyone to play in tournaments. Like even if you can't get in state stuff yet because your handicap's not low enough, get in some net stuff. Like you're bound to get paired with somebody. Get in a club championship. Get in anything at
mhm.
your club. Like just start small and then like work your way up. And then, like you said, all of a sudden it's motivating. And then you also learn about wow, like, and then you'll hit some shots some days. And like you said, you'll impress yourself and you'll remember it. Like that first tee shot, you're gonna remember that
Yeah.
forever. So yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like one of those things where you just got to do it. So how did the rest of that first day go? Four balls, I think, are a great start too for
Great
people
start.
because it's not too much pressure, right?
Yeah, I think we finished somewhere around even par through the first nine. The GM of the golf club came out and yelled at the guy that was partnered with us. And so after that,
About what?
so right in front of the clubhouse, man, if you ever go to Willow Point, I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful club. I, it went downhill after this. So uh, we were up near the green on this par five, chipping up for our third shot. And this guy was right behind my ball. And he chunks it and just takes his club, slams it down. Well, GM of the club, guy named Shep, awesome, awesome guy. He's like, hey, we don't do that here. Starts walking down. You remember that feeling you would get when you were like in high school and your buddy was getting in trouble, but you had that like second hand, like, oh,
Yep.
snap. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was me, and he's like chewing him out. And then, dude, I mean, I think I bladed my ball 120 yards like at the clubhouse, you
I'm
know.
just so nervous. Yeah.
Like I was so donezo.
I've never
I
heard of
think
a
I've had the gift
GM coming out to scream at somebody. That's a new one.
oh no, I still I still get nervous when I
That's
think
wow,
yeah.
that's wild.
So,
I cannot say I've heard of that one. Yeah, well, that's the thing, like too, with like tournament golf, you just don't know who you're gonna get paired with. And so
yeah,
it's cool, but also terrifying sometimes because then you have to like figure it out, you know, like that's
that
like
dude, he
that's
had a
a whole
bad
mental
moment.
battle in itself.
Yeah, he had a bad moment. He was pretty cool other than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we finished like two over par
Hmm.
together after that. You know, we didn't make the cut the next day. But I mean, after that leaving was like, oh shoot, man, this
The
is
golf bug
fun.
gotcha.
Yeah, you know, and you know, my four ball partner and I, we've played pretty good in
Yeah,
some
what's his
tournaments.
name, by the way? That's the guy who I first started
Yeah,
talking to at the booth.
Matt Drummond. Yeah,
Matt, yeah, Matt.
yeah,
Shout out to Matt. He was a good dude. And then I started talking to you after that, and
yeah,
yeah, I tried the sample of your product, and he was saying you guys played in the four ball because it's fun. Like I said, I was a little late to our podcast because I had my 2 man event
yeah.
today, and we just lit it up. And there's something fun about doing four
Crazy
balls
today.
because you have those like you have somebody to celebrate with. Like if you're playing great golf by yourself, like we don't have caddies 99% of the time, you know. So it's just like
Yeah.
you're like, damn, I wish I could celebrate with someone. So 2 man stuff's cool because the pressure goes down, the fun goes up, and then you find someone that you got to find someone you really get along with and have good
Yeah.
energy. I feel like because I've had some partners that we one and done like that's it. So if you find
Yeah.
someone, you got to kind of keep it going. So that was your first tournament. You never done any match play, you never done any like tournaments or club championships or one
Yeah.
day, nothing.
Well, you actually had mentioned it. I mean, you know, other than like scrambles and everything,
Hmm.
really a little bit prior to that, we've got a good group of guys out here around the Birmingham, Alabama area that I'll give you a little bit of the backstory. I'm sorry, I'm a storyteller, so
I
you
love
gotta.
it.
Um, so right after we graduated high school in 2008, all right, long time ago, um, we decided on Black Friday we were going to do a flag football game together. Well, we did that for about 3 or 4 years. We started getting older. We're like, nah, let's quit doing that.
Yep.
And we started doing a golf tournament, like Ryder Cup style. Well, it
Ooh,
grew to
nice.
about like 40 guys, and we do young guys versus old guys. Like really cool. We call it the Captain Anderson's Cup. And I don't think I don't have it up here with me, but it was literally just a glass that someone had stolen from Captain Anderson's at Panama City, and we call it the CAC. And so it became so much fun. Guys were like, "Hey, what if we did like a season with it?"
Mm.
And started doing a season, had points, net.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
I'd done that for a few years,
So
you know.
you got some competitive reps, and even if they were in a
Yeah,
formal or Alabama tournament.
yeah, and then I was like, okay, I think, you know, you know, what's cool about it too, man. I remember one of the tournaments, we started off doing Stableford,
Oh,
and
nice.
I was allotted the least amount of points because I had the highest handicap in that tournament.
Mm.
And like that was in the early stages, and I just got better and better and better, you know, worked on it and fell in love with it, got the bug, to being one of the, you know, top handicaps in that group, and there's some good guys that can play in there. And so did that for a while before I was like, all right, let's make this jump, you know.
Yeah. So there was some kind of gradual buildup. I'm just trying to get
Yeah.
people more into it and share different perspectives of how people get started and figure out like what that journey looks like because it's different, right? Everybody's different. Some people play junior golf, some people don't play in a competitive event till they're an adult. What were some of the things that helped you get close to scratch though? Because that's a big thing, right? The second book I just published all about breaking 80 and really it's about becoming a scratch golfer and kind of the blueprint to doing so. What were maybe two or three things that you felt really helped you get from maybe a 10 to close to scratch?
Yeah, number one, I'm excited about the book, man. Because I mean, just even from doing digging with you since we met, like I think so much of your philosophy helps me. You know, I think we have a kindred attitude towards things. But with that, yeah. So one, you know, I got to where I was playing more, but you know, most golfers, I would say they like to go play golf. They don't like to practice.
Hmm.
And so I started practicing. Started, you know, putting at the house on a putting mat. I live, I'm in Alabama, bro. We ain't got nothing but cows out here, right? So
I can't say
I
I've
live,
been yet, so I don't know
it's
actually.
beautiful, fabulous state to live in. But this helped my game so much. I live on a bunch of land, and so I cut out like a target to hit to,
Mhm.
and I could go from about 100 to 140 yards, and we'll just go out there
You
and
have some
work.
serious amount of land.
I
I
got
love
some
it.
land. Yeah, I got some land, and I was actually thinking the other day, like, man, I need to get back to doing more of that. But yeah, that's what I would do. I go out there and hit irons and hit
Just
them
hit a
and
lot
hit
of
'em.
wedges, a lot of irons, then
Yeah,
just kind of working on that. I like the indoor putting too. I always talk about that. Everybody's busy. I get it. Family, kids, businesses, life. But I'm like, you got time. Like you're watching TV or mindlessly watching a football game. Like putt on the commercials, like like that's so easy to me. And it's one of those things that can really help. Did you ever get lessons or were you self-taught?
man, I've never had a lesson.
Nice. It's impressive. I've had so many, so congrats. That's really cool to be almost you said close to scratch right around point 0.5 or
Yeah,
whatever. One, whatever it is. But I mean that's amazing. So to do it, have a little baseball swing in there maybe
yeah,
and figure it out. That's what about like YouTube University? Were you like going down that rabbit hole or did you just figure it out?
yeah, yeah. I would definitely say, especially as my son started getting into it a little
Hmm.
bit, I have noticed that the more like intake that I have as a competitor, sometimes for me that can be a little bit defeating for me.
Hmm.
Because I love to tinker and do a lot of different things. For reference, like in baseball, I was notorious for changing my batting stance
Mm.
instead of just
So
sticking.
that's a thing in baseball too. So they're not just golf
Oh,
that are always
100%.
tinkering.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I have an open stance, closed stance, standing up tall, hands down here. Instead of like, hey, let's dedicate to something. And, I've hopefully matured a little bit more. So I feel
Hmm.
like with YouTube University, I have done that to answer your question, but I've kind of defeated myself in some areas doing
Yeah.
so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm grateful for YouTube University because I think it draws people to my brand because they're like, I'm so
Yeah.
confused. Like, I'm so tired
Yeah.
of learning how to shallow the club and get to this wrist supination or
Wrist
whatever.
info. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm exhausted. Like I went to some of the stuff at the PGA show and I had like swing stuff just to like see what it's like. There's an event called Open Forum. It is the most in-depth look at attack angle of spin and chips and like all this stuff that's so over my head, and I'm just like, does anyone know what this means? Like, I'm a plus handicap. I've never thought about this stuff. It's
Well,
just kind of funny.
hey, I'll tell you where I noticed it. With my son. So again, getting him into junior
Yeah.
golf, like I am. It's the most fun I've ever had in my life watching him in sports. Right.
Hmm.
Well, so I can be. It's probably obvious in this. Pretty like, come on, man, figure this
Right.
out.
Yeah.
To him. And I learned last year with putting, and I've tried to take this to his whole game because he was just putting terrible. He
Hmm.
was six.
I was gonna say
Like,
kids normally just are better putters than adults because they don't care. Because I
well,
feel like adults care about the results too much.
I just told him, I said, hey, look at the hole and hit it to the hole.
Perfect.
And it was like I told him that before his last tournament. And he like broke his best record by like
Hmm.
6 strokes. And I was like, man, that's what I need to do. Just
Yeah.
I didn't hit it, man.
Yep.
So I've learned a little bit with him to, carry over. So
That makes sense. Did you do any mental stuff or read any books, ever listen to any podcasts, or did you just kind of figure that out, or ask some of your buddies that were, maybe ahead of you in the journey, or what's that kind of process been like? Because when you're starting to get better, you start to break 80, you start to break 75, maybe get close to par, you start thinking a little bit, and sometimes that isn't always great, or sometimes we, shoot even on the front and collapse on the back. So the mental game usually is the
yeah.
the reason. So anything that you did for that area of the game?
You know, I'm a podcast junkie and I'm a Audible junkie. I think I told you that before we got going. So I can't, probably on the golf end, not as much, other than listening to like some Hank Haney stuff.
Mhm.
Of course, listening to the autobiographies about Tiger and,
Sure.
more entertainment than
Mhm.
anything else. Of course, a few popular golf podcasts that are out there, but again, Probably listening more for entertainment than
Hmm.
anything. I
So
can't really rep
you just kind of figured it out then. I'm impressed. Like that's
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and flex like I just, am, God's gift of golf, but I'm not. You'll play with me. We're gonna play one day. You're
I
not.
can't wait.
Yeah, I think I'm sure there's a few things that I've picked up here and there, and went out and tried, but I probably need to. I'm really excited that I've met
Yeah, I was
you.
gonna say we got some stuff we can send your way. Don't worry.
Yeah, dog. Because to be honest with you, where I'm at, I was even talking to my wife about it the other day. So my son, he gets his first lesson this week.
Mm.
And I told her that it was actually I took him to this tournament that one of my best friends was hosting. He's on tour,
Oh
and he
wow.
was just sitting there showing him a couple of things, and that's where I realized, like, if he played baseball, I think I could handle him because I know the technicalities, I know the
Hmm.
things to look for, I have the eye
Yeah.
for it. With golf, like, sure, I can hang, but I don't have the aptitude to. I'm not going to be arrogant enough to
Yeah.
think, I know the
It's a
technicalities
tough
of
game to
golf.
teach.
Yeah, and so I told her, I was like, "Hey, this is getting beyond me." And so we're gonna get lessons. And so for me, I would say I can work on some things here and there, probably enough to hang, but like game management, I need a ton of help on. Um, Short game is just a downfall. It all depends for me if I'm hitting fairways and greens.
Okay.
That's
Yep.
that's it.
Yeah, it's just everybody's journey is different too.
Yeah.
Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and yeah, you got to figure out what that is for your game. Don't just like take generic advice. You gotta customize it for you. You also will kind of get into it. I think right now would be a good time because you said you went from like a 10, 9, or 8 to like close to scratch, and you said fitness was a big part of that. Obviously, that'll lead into your company. So how
Yeah.
did that play a big role? Because I've been adding some speed, man. I've been adding some distance. I played so good today that I'm gonna like just burn it into my memory bank. And I hit the ball so far. My buddy's like hitting it good. He's like, I don't know what you're doing. He's like, what have
Yeah.
you been doing? I was like, I've been speed training a little bit, but I'm just working out so heavy. I just like work out 3 times a week, just as heavy as I can, traditional lifts, and like I cannot. I'm sitting 7 iron 195, like just bombing drives, and I'm like, God, finally, like it's like I feel like I'm finally like starting to see it. So so I know the impact of fitness both on the mental health and the golf side of things. Where did that help you in the quest for lower scores?
So I'll back up a little bit. Um, when I was playing baseball, I hated working out,
Mm.
hated it. And there were two things that happened. One, I got addicted to pre-workout when I was in college, and I think they put meth in it. Like it
Oh
was
yeah, me and you
back
both.
then. It was unregulated, you know.
Oh, we used to take no exploding vodka before we headed out for the
Oh
night. We would
gosh,
take,
that's
yeah,
such a
we would
rager. Uh,
100%.
yeah, my drug of choice was Jack 3D. I don't know
Oh
if you
yeah.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one that I think got pulled because
Yeah,
of
oh, for sure
ephedrine or
it did.
something in there.
Yeah. And so I'm still searching for that high.
I get,
So but I got really into working out, and I started putting on muscle. So I was like 150 pounds, and put on, 15, 20 pounds of muscle. And I got really confident as a hitter, really wasn't a
Mm,
good hitter. But there's something about adding muscle, kind of what you said, that there is a psychological confidence that it brings as well as
hmm.
like, muscular health. And so I stayed on fitness for years. I told you I did CrossFit. I was a cult member of CrossFit. I still think it's a fabulous form of fitness. I'm just so competitive that when I started getting around 30 years old, it was bothering me that these, 22-year-olds were kicking my tail. And I was like, I can't do
Hmm.
this, started getting a few injuries. And so had a buddy recommend Scott Stallings,
Oh yeah,
um,
that guy's a beast.
HWPO. Yeah, HWPO program. And he had like a CrossFit vibe to it, kind of format.
Hmm.
And so I was like, oh, this is a perfect carryover. Well, I just started doing it honestly more for my health than anything else. And I was like, oh, it's golf specific. And then I realized it was a cheat code
Mm.
because one, and you're seeing this with guys, like the evolution of golf and health and fitness, nutrition, what we're doing is really elevating right now. because of this term called strokes gained, right? And so I realized, man, I'm hitting the ball so much further. I have more confidence because I know my body can do this now. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? What changed for me, like I think I had a good base of muscle. There was two things. It was mobility and rotational core work.
Hmm.
I had my core might have looked good, but I had the core strength of a 4-year-old girl. And so working on all that really started to change the game for me in because like my hips and my shoulders could not get into the
Yeah,
proper.
yeah. I've had some swing instructors on too, and they talk about like a lot of times players want to make the move, but their body physically won't
Yeah.
let them. So whether it's stretching, mobility, strength, everybody's different, right? But
Yeah.
there is like that component too, where it's like, yeah, I know I need to do this in my swing, but my body just won't let me. What is that plan you were talking about too? I haven't heard of that one yet. Like, what's that structure and workouts look like? Because I know people are always looking for new stuff.
Yeah, so I'll tell you again, man. I tinker, right? So I went Scott Stallings HWPO program.
Is this an
Uh,
online program or like an app
yeah,
or
yeah, it's
okay?
an app. And then went to DRVN,
Oh
which
yeah, I've seen that.
yeah, it fat dude. His app is fabulous. I mean, uh, overall comprehensive in what he does and teaches. He does it for
Hmm.
conventional, functional, hybrid, like all that. I would highly recommend that one. With us now as a company entering into the nutritional space of golf,
Hmm.
we've been kind of programming our own. And then one of my best friends, he was at the show with us, Mason McAnally. I don't know if you got to meet him.
I don't think so.
Um, yeah, so he has a company called Pro Level Physio, and so he's a PT by
Mm.
trade, but
Okay.
he's breaking into the fitness realm of golf, and his philosophy is fabulous. So we actually worked out down at the show together, did a few
Nice.
things. I'm trying to take some of the things that he does. He'd be a great guy to have on, just philosophy wise.
What
Um,
are some like what are like give us some examples of what a workout even would look like for you during that time? Maybe it might have changed since then, but like what were some of the things you felt like were foundational in that quest that let your body start doing the things you needed?
Yeah, so first and foremost, mobility. So you would do some form of stretching, dynamic warm up,
Hmm.
something like that. The second, and I would say, and I think Mason would say this as well, would be the strength part, because that's what up until recently has been taboo in golf, right?
Totally.
It's actually putting on muscle, and then using that muscle in some sort of function. And then, dude, this is another thing too, is doing athletic movements, dynamic movements, plyometrics, box jumps, med
Hmm.
ball tosses,
Yep.
uh, skater hops, things like that. Because there's a lot of things happening when you do these movements. And golfers, we kind of quit. What was the stat? Like 80% of men never sprint again after they turn 35.
Oh,
Right.
I haven't heard that. I believe that, man. There's direct correlations to high intensity training and longevity and so many things too. Yeah,
Yeah.
sprinting even in once 2 weeks would be great for people.
Well, so I think it's like golf golf in general has always been 15 to 20 years behind. But it's really just becoming bigger, faster, stronger.
Hmm.
If my hips can turn faster and I have more skeletal muscle, well, by the laws of nature, that
Hmm.
ball has to go further.
Yeah, and people will be like, "Well, what about Justin Thomas or this and that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can be a fluke talent that has no offense to JT, but or somebody that just isn't Tiger like out there, but they just have perfect fundamentals. They have all the coaches, they have all the stuff, but it's like for the everyday golfer, if you added some strength and did some mobility and like you said, just some sprints and stuff like that, balance, like there's so many things that you could benefit, and then you're also probably gonna have a better life off the course."
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Tiger, for instance, man. Like he was the first guy that decided not to go to the bar after the round. He
Hmm.
was going to the gym,
Yep.
or he was going back on the range. I think we all know that story about John Daly sitting there for hours, getting hammered,
Yep.
and Tiger telling Daly, he was like, "Hey, if I had your talent, I'd be sitting right there." So if Tiger Woods is saying, "I don't have your talent, I have to work for it," well, the
Yeah.
common man probably needs to as well if he wants to
Yeah.
improve. And
We can
that
always
happened
learn from
all
Tiger.
of us. Yeah, I think we learn everything. I hate he's not playing this week, but
Oh, and I mean, I understand with his mom, obviously horrible, but
yeah.
yeah, when he committed to it, and Torrey Pines, I was actually there in 2008 when he won the U.S. Open, and so I was like, oh man, I've played Torrey like 5 times, so I'm like, let's go. I know every hole. I'm like ready to go, and then he withdrew. I'm so sad. So
Oh,
hopefully
bro, I
Augusta. I
remember.
don't know.
Yeah, he's got to. I'm going for the first year this year. So,
Oh, you're going to Augusta? What? How'd you get the tickets?
a friend, man, I've put in for that lottery since I think I was 3 years old,
Uh-huh.
and basically laugh at me. And so, I got a friend that's been like 8 times, and he won again. So
Wow.
it's
That
not
is
fair. People
awesome, man. I am
have it.
stoked for you. Please let me know how it is. I am gonna make it one day. I'd really like
Yeah,
to play still. That's got to put it out there in the world. So
yeah.
I love
Throw
it.
it out there, man. You never plant
Yep.
the seed.
Got to plant the seed. Awesome,
Yep.
man. Well, that's cool. So you got, I mean, yeah, I wanted to give people just like a little background on you just because
Yeah.
everybody has a different journey, but you said so many things that are so wicked smart to prove. So I just want people to get it. Get into tournaments, play with better players, work on your fitness, and try new things. And like you said, practice. Like you can't just like playing is definitely there is a correlation between playing more and eventually getting better if you are then practicing in between some of those play
Yeah.
sessions. But yeah, it's just so you're doing all the right stuff, and then you decide to start a company that gets mentioned on the Golf Channel, and the reason we met. So how did this all start? Because this is really cool, and I want people to listen because if they take your supplement or something similar, obviously I want them to buy yours, but this stuff has such a big impact on your mental game because I've seen it in my life, but also your physical health. So how
Yeah.
did Strokes Gained even start?
Yeah, so again, I've been a supplement geek for 15 years now, and so the story is actually crazy. I was out playing at my club in Birmingham. It was a really hot day, late May 2023, and the two guys I play with primarily, they're in their mid 70s, and they only walk whenever they play. And so,
Legends. Love it.
yeah, me in my 30s, I can't. I can't be caught riding in a cart with two guys that are, 75 years old walking,
Totally
right?
fair.
And so I walk with them and I enjoy my time with them. One of the guys' names is Dr. Tom Osborne. He's a retired kidney doctor. Man, he's just salt of the earth, like just beautiful soul and very encouraging man. And he would always make sure that we stopped at every water cooler and filled up water. Kidney doctor, right?
Sure.
And so Tom was having the round of his life that day to the point where I was playing so bad, I just kind of quit and was just like, hacking around here and there and was just like rooting him on. Well, we get to the 18th tee box and I'm going to my tee box. He's going to his. And I look over and Tom's on his hands and knees, kind of going in and out of consciousness. And so, we run down there. Luckily, there was a maintenance crew nearby. We get Tom in the cart, get him up to the clubhouse. He was good. He had been drinking water all day, but he was just severely dehydrated. And so, like any golfer, you lay down in bed at night and you're thinking about all the different shots, the good ones,
Hmm.
especially the bad ones. And I got to thinking about Dr. Tom. I was like, why doesn't some of these big hydration brands, because I take them and there's some fabulous products out there, why don't they sell specifically to golf courses?
Hmm.
And so just kind of didn't do nothing with that thought. I called up my best friend. He lives in Jupiter, Florida. And I told him that story about Dr. Tom. And he and I have had this entrepreneurial itch we've wanted to scratch for years. We were both in the stock market together in 2020 when everyone thought they were Warren Buffett. Turns out we're not.
Sure.
And and so I told him that story, and he said, "Man, crazy you mentioned that. A guy I know, elderly man down here, it's the same thing happened on the golf course, and it was
Mm.
actually him, Ethan Shockley, my business partner. He said we should do something, and so I was like, I'm in, and we worked for a year, and didn't know what in the heck that we were doing. We still don't know a lot, but we've learned a lot. Finding manufacturers and
So
packaging.
the goal was just to make sure that doesn't happen to more people on their golf course,
Yeah,
basically, because
yeah.
water is an everybody just thinks, oh, if they drink water, right? Everybody knows that, but there's more than just drinking water. It's
Well,
about hydrating properly.
we found out some really cool things and we were like, whoa, this is actually a really big need in the golf industry.
Yeah, share some of
Uh,
that because I think the people don't get it.
no, and they don't. There's actually studies that are out there, and we didn't know any of this. So luckily, TPI and the PGA of America, along with a lot of peer-reviewed research studies, have put information out there about the specifics of electrolytes, hydration, in sports. And then there are articles out there about golf. And you can find a few that will tell you that even like a 2% reduction in your hydration levels, mentally, you're a C plus at best.
Hmm.
Like there's no like your body function and your mind, they it cannot go past a certain point because you don't have the proper electrolytes in your body.
Hmm.
So we began doing even, of course, we go into nerd mode and we're doing more research. And we noticed that a lot of the brands that are out there that, could just sell to golf courses if they want to, they're not suited for the everyday golfer.
Hmm.
And that has to do with the certain amount of electrolytes. So you either have Gatorade, which our product has 6 times the amount of electrolytes that it
Yeah,
has,
let's
and
explain what is electrolytes. What are is it magnesium, potassium, sodium?
sodium,
Is that
magnesium,
the
potassium. Yeah,
the big three? Because everyone thinks, yeah, I'll get a Gatorade, and I'm like, well, yeah, you
yeah.
could maybe, but then you're also getting like 60 grams of sugar, and you're about to crash in an hour or less. So your stuff is basically just mix it in with water, and you get all the stuff that's in Gatorade, but a lot higher quantity of it without all
Yeah,
the
and
sugar.
there were a few things that we learned in that. So a lot of the brands that you would get, we believe that the sodium level for the golfer is one of the most important keys.
Hmm.
So we have 483 milligrams of sodium. A lot of products on the market right now have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which is good if you just crushed a CrossFit Metcon.
Yeah,
Not so
right.
much for a 4 to 5 hour round of golf where it needs to be sustained.
That makes
Because
sense.
if that much of an injection of sodium can make you jittery. Well, when I'm jittery, my touch and feel is off, and so
Hmm.
it has an adverse effect. So what we decided to do was let's lower the sodium level. Let's use a really good salt. So we use pink Himalayan salt. A lot of the companies that you see, they use a really cheap form of ionized salt,
Mm,
which I get it. They're keeping their margins low.
sure.
And we just, hey, a non-negotiable for us is we're going to use quality salt.
And if it works for
Uh,
Tom Brady, I mean, it should work for everybody, right? I didn't know
okay,
about pink
so,
Himalayan until TB12, right?
yeah, man. Yeah. Um, and I'd been putting pink Himalayan salt in water, in the mornings when I got
Mm.
up. And so what we decided to do from there, I'm nerding out on
No, this is
electrolyte
good
levels.
because it's so
Okay.
important. In my first book, I started taking this stuff, similar stuff in 2022, published my first book in 2022, and I have a quote in there, not a quote, but just me talking. I said, if you get dehydrated, you get dumb. Literally,
Mm,
because your brain doesn't work as well. And golf is so hard already.
It can't.
And if we don't have all the mental stuff working together here, it's just going to be even more difficult. And I live in Arizona, so I'm playing tournament
Oh
golf in
yeah.
the heat of it all. And I just realized I always take my cooler, I always take all this stuff, but there was more I could do. So my whole thing is like, Bryson, I want to uncover every stone to figure out how to get better. And this is an easy thing to do. This is literally wicked smart. Better golf without swing changes. So this is why I wanted you to on, because I don't think people get it. And you don't have to just live in Arizona to get this. I drink salt
Mm-mm.
water pretty much, or a form of your type of supplement every single morning. The first thing I do when I wake up, I have that before I have coffee, anything else.
Well, and what we decided to do was, and I'll disclaimer it with this. One, I'm not a medical professional, and two, everyone sweats differently.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's electrolyte levels are different. They actually have tests out there. I would encourage people
Mm,
to go get your like a sweat test is what it's called. Um, but what we decided to do was include the magnesium, potassium at good amounts, kind of baseline amounts, along with
mm-hmm.
that sodium at what we believed would be a good amount for a golfer, and then backfill it with vitamin B6, B12.
Perfect.
Because yeah, that's going to bring a cognitive boost. That's
Mm-hmm.
going to bring
Because all
more.
energy drinks are 5 hours. That's all just B6, B12, pretty much.
Yeah, and what we were going to do originally, if I'm honest, we were going to do a hydration focus and energy product in a can,
I'm not
kind of
shocked
like,
there, Mr. Jack 3D. I have no doubts that was
yeah,
what you're.
right. And that's what strokes gain was going to be originally. And then we started to find out like, whoa, there's actually a need for proper hydration in the game of golf that's really
Mm,
not there.
yeah.
Right. Um, and so of course, I told you I got into playing competitive golf. We found out the name Strokes Gained wasn't trademarked. And
I
so
can't believe that, by the way.
I know, man, I know. And then went through with that and yeah, launched it a year after Dr. Tom had passed out in late May of 2024, and we're
Nice.
about 8 months in at this
That's
at
that's
this
that's
point.
awesome. I mean, you had a great booth at the show. I know you had a great turnout. You got mentioned on
Thanks.
the Golf Channel about it, and people are getting it, and people are getting
Yeah,
results from it. So, I mean, I tell everyone to carry this stuff. It doesn't matter if it's not scorched earth hot either. I think that's the biggest misconception that I wanted to like just straight up tell people is you got to have that stuff because you just got to have all the abilities for during your pre-shot routine, to be
yeah,
able to think properly and be like you said, not jittery. And the magnesium, I mean, I take magnesium to help with, the nootropic side of things and just
yep.
the, staying calm. And then the potassium, obviously, that's why people, eat bananas and stuff. So it's like you combine it all and they're just little packets, right? So when do you take it? What are like the best practices for people for this? So that way we can avoid what happened to Dr. Tom and then obviously play wicked smart.
Yeah, so what I usually encourage, again, not a medical doctor, but what I usually encourage is have one before the round and then at the turn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because, depending on what the heat is like,
Yeah.
if you're in Arizona, which I cannot wait to play Arizona golf. I'm going to get out there.
Hopefully hit it
So
straight because that desert golf gets. I'm speaking from a guy that's been battling a driver lately. Not today, but yeah,
I
just
get it.
Arizona golf's fun is if you're not in rattlesnake territory.
Yeah, I get it. Um, but yeah, just depending on what the heat level is, we want to have a product that would be a little bit lighter, something you can take multiple times instead
Hmm.
of like not you just take it one time and then that's
Yeah.
it. We felt like for golf that would be a little bit more sustainable because it's a longer duration of time.
Hmm. So take it
So
before and then at 9. Do you take this stuff when you wake up? Do you take it after workouts too? What about non-golf days?
I do. So what I usually do is I have electrolytes whenever I wake up.
Hmm.
Uh, of course, you're backfilling with water, making sure you're consuming enough
Yeah.
water. And then yeah, I usually mix our strokes game with my creatine, which we'll have a creatine one day
Love it.
during the yeah.
Another wicked smart supplement that we should probably talk about because it's one
Yep.
you had the biggest arms I think at the show by the way. So shout out to your fitness.
I
It
don't know
clearly
about that.
worked. I don't know, man. Maybe the shirt was just that schmedium was fitting good, but
Well, extra medium.
but seriously, creatine like it's one of
Yep.
it's arguably the most studied supplements out there. Men, women, whether you're working out or not, the physical benefits are good, but the mental benefits and the cognitive stuff is just as important. So if like you take some of the
Yeah.
strokes gained, you take some creatine, maybe sneak in a little pre-workout during some of those workouts, I think you're going to be pretty fit and playing pretty good golf.
Yeah, and if I'm honest, our goal is to become, we start off with just this idea, and then we
Yeah,
didn't realize, like, whoa, there's a need. Our goal is we want to become the health brand of golf,
love it.
and we have a hydration product for now, and we're still in startup phase, and we're still
Mm-hmm.
figuring out all the scalability and systems. But we would like to move to do a healthy energy product that's not 200 milligrams of caffeine, something in the 40 to 70 range,
Mm-hmm.
that you can take on the golf course or off of it or after, whatever. We would like to do some nutritional bars, and then creatine. We'd love to have a creatine product.
Love it.
So, yeah, we want to be the supplement brand
I love
for
it, man. That's
golfers.
fantastic. And you have a couple flavors. Do you have any more coming out, or what's kind of next up for you guys?
Yeah, so we've got lemon, lime, and watermelon right now.
Both delicious, by the way.
Depending.
I did test them, so no, yep,
Yeah,
they were great.
I'm gonna get you some more, but uh, my business partner and I, we're in this like eternal war right now because he's a watermelon guy, I'm a lemon lime guy, and so if you like watermelon more than lemon lime, just don't tell me. I'm just playing, but we're testing orange right now,
Nice.
and we're hoping to come out with it soon. Uh, we think that orange kicks both their tail. I mean, I
Okay.
think really I think our orange flavor will be, I think it'll end up being our hallmark product.
Perfect. That's
So
awesome, man. And you
I'm
guys are all you guys.
forecasting. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have it. So, do you get all your stuff? How does it like all work? I know you're obviously in Alabama. Do you guys have all your stuff here? Is it shipped to Amazon? Where do people get it? Like, what are the best
Yeah.
places to figure more about that?
Yeah. So we're only in the US right now. We'll do international one day, but as of right now, yeah, we're on Amazon, and then strokesgain.com.
Okay,
And
perfect.
yeah, really right now, honestly, our goal is we're trying to get to 100 reviews on Amazon. So we're sitting at 80 right now. We're almost there. But we just began the Amazon journey in November, and that's been going super well. And yeah, strokesgain.com.
Perfect. Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure to link to everything. What's your Instagram too, so they can follow you? You got some good stuff too.
Yep, it's just at strokesgain.
Okay. Perfect. I can't believe that was still available too, man.
Well, it wasn't.
How did you get a domain that was already taken? Did you have to
All
hunt
right,
somebody
so
down and
this is a funny story. We found out that that handle at Strokes Gained was taken. So we met. I originally messaged the guy. He didn't respond. My business partner messages the guy, and he comes back and um, says like, "Yeah, I'm willing to sell it to you guys." And my business partner throws a number out there. It's pretty low. And then he comes back for almost double that amount. And here's what he says. He he said, if you pay me this amount, I'll be able to take my son to Lego World. And we were like, dude, you just got us. Like, send your son to Lego World. We'll take the
that's
handle.
awesome.
And
Making
so
dreams come true, and then you got your handle. So.
yeah, so some kid was really happy, and yeah, we got the Instagram handle.
Fantastic, man. Well, we'll link to everything down here. And then for the last question, want to know what would you say to someone that is trying to break 80 or right now and shoot in the 70s more often? What's maybe one playing tip or practice tip that really you feel like helped accelerate your journey that could help them?
Yeah, so I remember the first time I broke 80. And it didn't hit me till after I'd actually played the round. I was like, oh, I just need to do more of that. Um, it was just trying to avoid double bogeys and just knowing bogeys are going to happen.
Hmm.
Like, take your medicine. If it's a day that you're hitting some putts, like a birdie will fall in, you know. And not trying to do too much. Man, my mindset, I'm so thankful to have a business partner like I do who takes my feet and puts them on the ground. But like I would try to be a hero, out of the woods. Let's get this thing. Like, no, just take the bogey, go to the next hole. Like you're a good enough player to make the next shot, make the next shot, you know.
Love it.
Again, I think golf is a leader's game. It's the greatest teacher of life that there is. And really, it's the final frontier for the competitive spirit of a man. I'm not going to play football the rest of my life. I'm probably not going to play basketball, definitely not going to play baseball, but golf's always going to be there, man was meant to compete, not just with other people, but against yourself. And so I think that golf is a great form of it. I think it's why you see so many businessmen, so many high level entrepreneurs and C-suite guys play the game because they realize that their only way to take their mind off of the jungle and competition of work and job is to put it in the same space somewhere else,
Mm,
right? Because it's kind of a sicko way of thinking about it, if you notice, but that's what a true competitor does. Is like I find my rest in competing. So
man, yeah, that very well said. I've always said that too. Men need to compete, and a lot of times after college, we don't have anything. And I think that it makes you better as a man, and obviously as a
yeah.
golfer, it gives you something to focus on. And it's I think how we're hardwired, right? We're just cavemen deep down, and we need
Hey,
to.
my wife, I got a friend, he came up to her one day and said, "Man, you let your husband play a lot of golf." And she said, "It's cheaper in therapy." So I don't know if she knows that's actually not true, but
Don't
uh
tell her. It's okay.
I'm not.
And you
I'm
know what?
not.
You made it your passion. You made it a business. You're helping golfers. You're helping people. So I appreciate it, man. I'm stoked to meet you and have you on the show, and excited to tee it up one day. Everybody, go get your strokes gained and start thinking better and playing better.
All right, man.
Thanks again for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.